My dog is being extra silly right now. Are you being extra silly? She's literally sitting out like with her belly exposed. We had kind of a lazy, what's today, Friday? It doesn't feel like a Friday. Also, it's raining. It's been like raining literally the whole day, just consecutively. Um, but I, it's interesting because as I go along my dating journey and healing from trauma and stuff, um, I feel like the more experiences that I have and I get, the more that I can share with other people, even if it's a small group of people. If I'm able to help somebody in some way, um, I will be happy about that. I'm sorry if I get distracted because her belly is exposed because she's so silly. Um, so I wanted to, let me move this here. I wanted to talk about, and let me plug in my computer because I don't want it to lose battery. That does not, I don't want that to happen. So I'm going to fix my hair really quickly. It's interesting because when I do my hair, sometimes I put too much argan oil. Funny, yeah, cálmate. And then it gets, like, after I blow dry it and I straighten it, it gets, like, too, well, I have oily hair anyways. I have oily skin, too. So, I don't know how to remedy. I know there's dry shampoo. Bonnie, your foot. But, anyways, I don't want to get off track. So, I did a video recently called Dating Do's and Don'ts. And again, this is all coming from the perspective of someone who kind of got into the dating scene, honestly, later on in life. And I know that might seem crazy because a lot of people, right, the traditional route is like you're in high school and you go through puberty and then, you have your prom and there's all these different milestones. Maybe you make out, if you go to a traditional school, right, and there's bleachers and sports teams, you make out behind the bleachers. Um, like the typical like Mean Girls, like the Mean Girls movie, the one, like that's like what I imagine traditional high school to be like. I didn't go to that. I went to an arts. Bonnie, ya, cálmate por favor. She's being so silly right now. Why are you being extra silly? While I'm recording this, she's literally being. She's literally being extra silly. Okay, I'll just put it like this because that's a better angle. Um, So yeah, I didn't go to a traditional high school. I went to an art school. Sometimes I wonder what it would have been. Bonnie, you're flashing your butt. Sit, please. I wonder. Okay, good. She's sitting down. Yes. Why are your eyes green? Your eyes are green. This is gonna be a video all about Bonnie. Psych. It's not about dating. It'll be about my dog. Anyways, dog mom life. I want to make sure my zipper's up. What was I going to say? Okay. Anyhow, this dog. What are you doing right now? ¿Qué tú estás haciendo? Anyways, I'm sorry. I get distracted easily. So I wanted to so I did a video about dating do's and don'ts. That's coming from my perspective as someone who, and I'll be honest, sometimes I not fail. Maybe I'm going to write that down. Maybe that will be the first one. There's no right way to go about it, right? And meaning like the best you can do, the best you can do is put yourself out there and try. And what's going to happen is you're going to meet a lot of people who are going to waste your time. I'm just keeping it real. There's going to be people who don't know what they want, right? There's going to be people who do know what they want. There's going to be people who just get out of really long-term relationships. There's going to be people who just moved cross country and are starting a whole new life and starting fresh. There's going to be people who are recently separated. I'm just keeping real. There's like I said, a lot of them might be time wasters. There's going to be people who are married. Whether or not you agree with that is up to you. That's your preference. Some people are in the whole open relationship, polyamorous thing. I'm so eager. So because my background is in psychology and sociology, there's this fuzzy stuff. I take this kind of approach of like this very cerebral, intellectual. Oh no, she jumped off. Now she's like, no, I don't want to sit with you. Intellectual, cerebral like discussion about it because I don't know. I'm always, my brain is always, I like to use the word tinkering because my brain is always thinking how, why things work the way they do and how we can make them better. Or like, is there a way to make things better and more streamlined and whatnot? So, but even when it comes to dating, right? And that's kind of why I'm doing this because I go, if I could help some other person out there, God, I mean, you can't prevent you. There's no way you can prevent like ever a mishap. Like this, just you're gonna meet the wrong people. I'm just gonna be honest. You're gonna meet the wrong people. Oh, you were getting your antler? This is my dog right now. You were getting your antler. Okay. Anyhow, she's so you're. What I was gonna say is you're gonna meet the wrong people. You're going to make out with the wrong person. You may sleep with the wrong person. And I think the first thing, I had a different first bullet point on here, but I think don't be hard on yourself if you do that, right? These are kind of, I'm going to call this, I think, mental health tips for dating, like dating mental health tips, right? How to cope through dating, right? In this day and age where with modern technology and texting or sexting and, you know, because that's a whole nother world in of itself. I never realized, like, because you think sex and then you're like, wait a second, there's this whole other like branch of sexuality and intimacy that I had no clue about, right? Um, so yeah, but I would say, yeah, don't be hard on yourself if you, which I think there's maybe one that kind of goes along with this one. If someone mistreats you, plays you, abuses you, or tricks you, that's not your fault. You're most likely a good, kind, loving soul who didn't know better. And so what I told myself is I'm going to have to kiss a few frogs, not to meet a literal prince, but like to meet, you know, someone of substance, someone cultured, someone not super posh and well educated, but they can hold a conversation, right? They have what I call the trifecta, right? Like you think of a triangle, like, I don't know. To me, it's like you want the mental stimulation. This is for me. I don't know about you. The mental stimulation, the emotional connection, not like super deep, but like there's like a, you know, like a genuine compassion and like you care about the person, right? I'm empathetic by nature, so I care about like everybody. But then you also have like the physical, sexual. So you have the emotional, the sexual, and right? The emotional, the mental, and the physical and the sexual. But then there's also, I think, a spiritual. So I don't know if it should be a square. Maybe a square. I don't know. That's like a rectangle. But anyways, that's kind of what my qualifications for what makes up a good connection with somebody, right? And for dating to go well. But I am gonna. That's the first point. If someone mistreats you, plays you, abuses you, or tricks you, that's not your fault. You're most likely a good, kind, loving soul who didn't know better. Because it's true. Because if you go into it, like I can't tell you probably how many men, and this is intuitively because they said, oh no no no, I'm single, whatever. Um, I don't have a girlfriend or I'm not married or whatever. And then I find out, I'm like, wait a second. I do my card reading and I'm like, oh, great. The unavailable card comes out and I'm like, yes. And that sucks sometimes when I'll be honest, when you have a really good, especially if it's a really good physical connection, like you haven't done anything physical, but there's that like chemistry because your hormones are like, boom, like fireworks, like, you know, that's like I consider a good, like if there's like great chemistry and then it's just like, firework explosion. I don't know. I'm weird. Anyways, so it sucks when that happens. And like literally, I've decided like one person I was talking to before, I'm pretty sure I told him I was like, you take forever. And that's another thing I'm going to say. The next one is normalize transparency and communication, or comms. I say communication. For short is comms now. COMMS. It's very chic. Comms. Um, uh, but yeah, there's someone right now, like, I'm done, like, I'm not gonna even bother because any man that takes longer, let me be honest, any man that takes longer than a day, or anybody, if you're a man watching this and a woman does this to you, please know, like, just either they're not interested, or they're a player, or they have something else going on. But think about it. Common sense and human behavior, even if you've never studied psychology or anything, it dictates if someone likes you, they're going to put forth the effort towards you. Even if they're like playing you, even if they're a player, like they're gonna, because players, you know, they play the game and they sow their oats and they, you know, they have their options or whatever. but they still at least put forth the effort. A guy that's just a total dick, or a woman who's a total bit. I'm gonna try to curse less. This is gonna be my late New Year's resolution in June, which I just realized I need to write my landlord to extend my lease, because my lease ends in June 9th, and that's like literally right around the corner. In fact, oh my God, it's a month. So, which job update? I've gotten so many rejection. I'm so used to it right by now, but honestly, I'm just gonna embrace. I don't know if it's content creation or just this uncertainty or ambiguity, and just ride it out. I hate not being able to pay for stuff, I'll be honest. And I'm just being honest, because YouTube, it takes, and I wasn't really doing YouTube in the beginning for like monetization and stuff, because I don't know, I wanted to do something fun, to have like a video diary and help other people go through trauma. But then people do make money off of YouTube, but it takes years to do that. I think you have to get like over 1 million followers. And I don't want to be, my thing is, I always told myself, if I did YouTube or social media, I didn't want to be the type of person who became so obsessed with like ratings and followers and stuff, because that's not who I am. Like, I wanted to enjoy it, because like as a consumer, because I've watched a lot of YouTube videos and stuff, but then if like as a creator, I don't want to be like, oh my God, is my video, because that's like with dating. When you become so obsessed with something and the outcome, you end up actually, so metaphysics moment, law of attraction, energy, right? Energy is like constantly flowing and moving. If you are constantly like trying to control something, you're causing a rift, not a rift, you're causing a block, like a spiritual mental block in like the energy field. So what will happen, there'll be like stagnation. But when your heart is open and you're not controlling things flow. So I'm just going to take it like that. And if the universe is telling me, hey, you're not meant to do a 9 to 5 job kind of situation that I thought I was, maybe that wouldn't be good for me. Maybe I'm not meant to sit at a desk for X amount of hours. I've noticed, a creative soul. I'm more artsy fartsy. I'm very cerebral too. Like, I like science, I like medicine, I like literature, but I like art, I like theater. I haven't done theater in like a gajillion years. But I came from that world, but I like, the artsy fartsy dance. I'll be honest, I kind of am sad that I'm not in an area where the cultural art scene is very vibrant. If you go to a more metropolitan area, it's, a little bit like, there's a lot more, it's more robust. I'm sure in like, probably in Canada, there's like, I would imagine like Toronto, or like in the UK, they have the West End. Obviously New York, there's Broadway and stuff. And I grew up around that world. Like, there was always music playing in our household. So, it's kind of funky being like, imagine like putting a creative soul in like a cottage or a cabin, and then they don't have a car, and then they have so many ideas and passions, but then executing them and channeling that energy somewhere is like, I don't know, so it's interesting. But I'm very faithful. Like, I can't really say I'm religious. I'm more like, I just go with the flow. I believe in spirituality. I believe that, like, in the interconnectedness of things. I believe there's an unsaid underlying energy that permeates all of existence in society, whether you want to call that God. In Tai Chi, they call it Chi. In yoga, we call it prana. It's the life force. There's a lot, and I can't say what it looks like, but I can definitely tell you when I feel like I'm in the chi and I have the chi flowing versus not. But yeah, I've kind of just embraced this thing where I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go, you say, play by my own rules in society. And it's interesting, which is another tidbit on here, the dating part. I'm sorry, my nails. I need to grow my nails out. And if you are a woman and you date, make sure you grow your nails out. Try to make it, mine are shorter, but I used to do really long nails and stuff, like the artificial ones, but I do need to take care of my nails better. Anyways, I'm getting very, very off topic of what I wanted to talk about. But let's dive into I already said the first one. Like I said, it's true, if someone really does treat you poorly, I've learned from past, I'm going to say mistakes. I'm not going to even call them mistakes. It's just learning experiences, right? Lessons. Um, if someone does treat you poorly, if they cheat on you, if they lie to you, that is no reflection of you. Because think about it. If you go into a situation, right? I am very intuitive. You can say, oh, maybe kind of psychic. Oh, possibly, right? Um, or perceptive, right? Um, if I took that side of me away, right? Like, let's say I just average, like, every day trying, and actually, it's interesting. I'm kind of trying to go about it like that because I've been with my cards and stuff. It's almost like I'm withholding regular experiences in my life because I'm sitting here like, oh, this guy's whatever, and I'm like, well, what if I grow and I learn from, I've never done polyamory. I don't know what that's like, and I can't really, how to say, you can't really knock it until you've tried it. I'm going to do a separate video, maybe one after this, discussing that, and kind of, because I'm very someone, I like to weigh the pros and cons before I do anything. And you can't, and here's the thing, a lot of people have a lot of opinions to say about one particular thing, but they haven't experienced it. Now you can say, oh, but you haven't had many relationships. Well, I have learned from other people's relationships and observed them from family, friends, coworkers, colleagues, um, students, teammates, whatever, um, on my journey. And so I can speak to that. I do kind of feel like an old soul. I feel like I've been here before. So it's kind of like, it's all coming back to me. In the words of Celine Dion, right? It's all coming back to me. So yeah, but it does, like, do not, because I was taking it personally where I was like, oh my God, I will say, be mindful of your boundaries, because if you notice, so this is what I'm going to say. Pretend cards, I wasn't a card reader. Pretend just everyday average 33-year-old woman kind of navigating life, trying to hold her own, even if it's messy and murky and funky, and finances and this and that and sex and blah 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 and dog life, doggies, whatever. Um, yeah, how it's not your fault. Like, if you date someone and it's not your fault, right? If they do something. Now, I will say this though. If you notice a trend where the men that you are encountering or attracting are giving you mixed signals, are being either maybe emotionally unavailable or physically unavailable, or they're not meeting you, like they're love bombing you in the beginning, right? Giving you all this attention, then they breadcrumb it and pull it back. Everyone, I will be honest, all of us, we are all at a different point in this time space reality of trying to figure out life, right? No one has it right. Nobody. I used to think when I was growing up, I was like, oh my God, I know I'm such a good girl. I don't mess up. I do everything right. Everyone else is, and I'm not kidding. I used to have this mentality, and like, I used to shy away from people. I'm like, oh no, they're like a whore. She's whatever. I'm going to stay in my bubble. That's very provincial, narrow-minded, egotistical way of thinking. And almost, that's not narcissism, but it's a very elitist way of thinking. Like, oh, I'm not going to hang out with this person because they're different than me, because their values are whatever. Well, what if you sat in a room and you had a roundtable discussion and you learned about a whole new way of life, and that maybe you didn't know before, right? So I've kind of opened up the doors to my mind, and I'm a little bit less liable to judge or scrutinize someone now than I was before. Like, for instance, like with sex, I used to literally, growing up, I was like, oh my God, everyone that has sex is like a sinner. And, they're horny, and this is, because I didn't peak in that sense until later on in life. So everyone before me, when I was like 14, 15, and I'm at summer camp and they're talking about oral sex and blowjobs and going behind cabins in summer camp, making out, and I'm like, oh my God, I would do an eye roll. Like, oh, they're so, it's like when you think of the movie Easy A with Amanda Bynes' character. I kind of, to be honest, and she was a very devout Christian, and like they had a Christian group, which is funny because in the Christian group, Cameron I don't know his name. He, um, he was having an affair with like the teacher or something. He was a younger student. And he was in the Bible study group. If you've never seen Easy A, it's a good movie. It's based on The Scarlet Letter with Hester Prynne, um, where this rumor starts and goes around that Emma Stone, I forgot the name of her character in the movie, but she does a favor for her friend who is a virgin, and he's getting picked on, and then they pretend to hook up and have sex, and she gets this reputation of being easy and whatever, when really she's not. She's actually very low-key, humble, you know, um, morally righteous, you know, girl, right? Who had a good upbringing and loves her family and stuff like that. So it's an interesting movie. And then she finally decides to like set the record straight and like, because it was getting out of hand, because literally she was like, people were calling her a slut and saying that she was, a floozy, and people were paying, like she was a prostitute and people were paying her for sex, when really what she was doing, she wasn't having sex with them. She was just trying to boost the nerdy guys, I guess, right? That she was trying to boost their reputation in the school. So she pretended they would pay her like in gift cards or like Burger King, like fun stuff, not money necessarily. And then she says, "I'm gonna fake rock your world." It was a cute movie. It's not bad, but she really adopts the persona, and she like, goes all out with it. And then Amanda Bynes' character, she's like, a higher power is gonna judge you for your indecency or something. And then she's like, oh, that's a line from Tom Cruise movie, and she's like, whatever. It's an interesting movie. But anyways, I forgot why I bring up that topic. Um, maybe I don't know why, but anyways, maybe I was meant to say that. Maybe you were meant to hear it. I don't know. Um, but I will say, yeah, you are gonna mess up. You're gonna meet people who aren't um maybe the right fit for you. But I will say this: if you notice that you are attracting a certain type of individual where, maybe they are very hot and heavy in the beginning and then they slowly start to pull back, um, or what's another type of individual, like behavior wise? There's ghosting, there's zombieing. I don't know what zombieing is. Apparently when you have an ex and they resurrect themselves back from the dead. And usually they say when an ex is dead, don't resurrect them. Or the guy, it was on Instagram, he's like, don't resurrect the dead. So that's it's true though. I mean, I don't know, it depends. Like if you had, because sometimes people grow and they mature, and they learn. So it's really up to you. It's like if that connection, if there's like a mutual respect for that person and you like them like as a friend, like you can be friends with them, right? Like if you were like if put it this way, if you're in a bind, would they be someone that you can rely on if you were ever in an emergency? Maybe gauge it by that. But if there's someone that was a total narcissist and an asshole and they treated you like shit, then probably not. Maybe not the best to go back to. Because that has happened to me where people come out of the blue where you're like, and then they resurrect themselves and you're like, what do I do? Anyways, yeah, so let's go on to the next one. I'm going to say, so the next one is normalize transparency in communications. If you are someone that, I used to be very like conscientious about hurting other people's feelings. Like I used to feel like I never wanted to hurt, like literally I would deliberately adjust my speech or my verbiage to not come off as cold-hearted or bitchy or in any way. And let me tell you, that doesn't help. Like, there's a way to communicate your feelings and express them without sounding cruel or cold-hearted. You're honest. You say it from a vulnerable, say it from your, it might sound silly and cliche, but you say it from your heart. And that's what I do. Like, I literally told a guy recently, like, and I put a little emoji, I was like, you take a really long time to write back. And lo and behold, he hasn't written back. And I'm not gonna, and I realized that's not someone I want to engage with, And in the beginning, it was very, very on the apps. It was very hot and heavy. He was very talkative, and then it all just kind of changed. And I don't know, I don't know. There's, I think I pulled cards or something, and it kind of waned, and I got this vibe that he wasn't being totally honest with me. So I was like, nee, and I pulled away and I pulled back. Um, and then he kind of just the term is benching, when a guy gives you enough attention, or if you're a man watching this, if a girl gives you enough attention that you know they just give you enough attention to keep you in their orbit, right? So that you stay with them. Actually, I'm going to check my phone really quickly for something. My phone is really hot. um what was I going to say? Yeah, so don't be scared to speak up about what you want right away. I know that sounds crazy, but like in this day and age, people are so either evasive or ambiguous, or they hide stuff, and it's so not cool. especially, as adults, we're in adulthood, right? Like, we're adults. We're not, this is not middle school. This is not like high school where you're like, oh, I don't know, should I, you know? No, you're an adult. You have to act like one. Not to say you're going to get it right every time, but you do owe it to yourself. Like, be honest and upfront with the person that you are engaging with and speaking to. Um, because in the long run, think about it. If you don't express how you feel, or if you don't say how you feel, for me, I know personally, I would feel very like, I don't know, I would feel like something's missing, or I didn't get to say everything I wanted to say. Um, but like I told you, like I said to someone recently, you take forever right back. I have no shame in saying that because it's the truth. Because if someone, think about it, if someone's gonna, that kind of behavior, so you write someone, then they take a long time to reply back. Let's break it down conceptually, right? Psychologically. What does that indicate? That indicates that you're not someone that's a priority to them, or at least getting to know you. That means that, talking to you or communicating with you is not something that, they're really interested in doing. Because if they, and also what it really comes down to, it shows that they don't respect you. Because think, if someone respects somebody, they're going to put that effort. They're going to say, they're going to reply back in a timely manner, number one. Because everyone, I'm sorry, and this may sound really harsh, but everyone has their phone on them. Every single person. We all have our phones. For me personally, because for my mental health, I disable all notifications. I literally have my phone on do not disturb, because I don't want to be constantly dinged and like know when this person texts me, because I've seen it before, like with friends, where literally their whole existence and mood is catered to, or dependent on whether someone writes them back or not. And that's not embarrassing. It's just, there's so much more that we could be doing, and just sit there and base your whole life with someone. So right, let me tell you, and this might sound cold-hearted too, but right when someone shows me that they're playing that game of like mind games, and they're like, in their late 30s or early 30s, I'm like, bro, I don't have time for this. You're in your 30s, bro. Like, it's not like you're 21 and you're in college, and you're like, you have classes in school, and like, you have a lot going on, and there's pressure, and like you go to frat parties or whatever, and you're, the hookup scene. It's not that. We're in our 30s. This is we went past that college scene of, just casual. I mean, you may carry it over. Like, if, like for me, I'm a little bit of a different situation, because it's very unique for me, because like I said, it was 32 when I started being intimate and stuff. So everything. So if you think about everything that comes with dating, right? The sexting, the 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 going out on dates aspect, the casual hookup scenario, right? The casual dating scenario, the long, everything, all of that was like, I was delayed in that respect. So I was, so for me, it's kind of like that. I don't know. That's how I see it. I was, so all of this stuff that other people have normally done in their life, like in college and high school, even when they're 13, 14, and they have their first love, because that happens. You're 15 and you have your first love, and you remember your high school crush or whatever. I don't like, I didn't really even have that either. I mean, there were some people I did crush in high school, but like, I never acted upon it. I was never overt with the way of my intentions with people. So, um, yeah. Um, so that's kind of my thing. But like I said, if a man is going to do that to you, and prolong their, please do yourself a favor. Cut them off, because they don't deserve you. I know that may sound really cruel and harsh, but if someone is going to string you along like that, bro, there's 7 billion people and counting, and more souls are coming into the earth. You don't need to sit there and pine over one person. Trust me, their looks, the dick, right? Their genitalia. There's going to be plenty of more where that came from. And that's my mentality, because I have a very, I guess, not growth, well, it's a growth mindset, but it's a very abundant mentality. Like, I don't sit there and go, oh, but sometimes I used to go, oh, why didn't I work out with this person? They're so, whatever. No, there's going to be, trust me, there's always someone better. Um, and with each experience, you grow a little bit more, right? You build your character a little bit more. This one, okay, that one you learned, maybe don't give it up so soon, unless you're doing friends with benefits. That's a different story. if it's a mutual agreement between both parties, it's consensual and there's mutual understanding about sexual intercourse and whatever, that's whatever. But if you're trying to do the whole long-term relationship thing and you really want to have like a sustainable, formidable thing, and you want it based on like, I don't know, like, common interests or commonalities, then, there's that natural progression I think you should take. But then, you learn that lesson, and the next lesson comes, and, maybe a guy is unsure about you or uncertain, so they keep you as a backseat option, right? Or like I call it the back pocket option, right? You're like the girl that they go in their back pocket if it doesn't work out with their girlfriend or wife. They're like, hey, oh look, Ashley, she's on the, she's single. Let me hit her up and see, and then they it's not constant communication, it's inconsistent, but they'll give you a little whatever, but then you're like, no. So you learn that lesson. Then you learn the the whole he's married lesson, and that, and you get that vibe because um number one, maybe, and I have noticed this, and I'm kind of like, for the first time I kind of broke one of my rules where I usually said, oh, um talk on the phone, and I'm doing kind of different where I'm talking through the app like Instagram or whatever, which at the end of the day, you don't really want to give out your phone number to people. I was reading on a article, like I don't know if it was on Quora or Reddit, but they said you should get like a second phone number, and you could do that through Google Voice or through there's other apps on iPhone and Android, which is kind of smart because at the end of the day, you really don't want to give your real number out, because what if that person's cuckoo and la cabecita? What if they're crazy and they stalk you, and then they have their phone number, and then God forbid they know IT and they can hack into your shit? You're screwed. That means they know what you're doing at all times. That means they know who you're talking to, right? If they're an ex of yours, that is creepy as shit. So I guess I do have this is one of my favorite pens. This is my glitter pen. I love glitter pens. I have like 5 of these suckers. They're from Amazon. Anyways, what was I saying? So yes, normalize transparency and communication, right? Next one, dating should be fun, not stressful. If you're getting gray hairs and you're having mental health issues because of dating, either that tells you need to build upon your coping skills as an adult, which is okay, that's normal. Coping skills are great. Half of basically the whole field that I was in previously, child life therapy, was based around promoting positive coping within the hospital. So, but I will say that, because we're humans, right? Because we have emotions, if you are like me and you're empathic and you feel things, like basically as an empath, your people's emotions, like for instance, when that plane crash happened, and back in January, when the plane that was coming into Washington, was it DC, the Ronald Reagan Airport, and all the people died in the plane, and I could still cry when I think about it now. That hit me like a ton of bricks in my heart, and I want to cry now because it sucks. I know that sounds crazy. You're like, but you don't know those people. But I'm like, but they matter. Everyone matters to me. See, I really get teared up when I think about it. Because I just care. I care a lot about the world. And even like people I don't know, because I want everyone to genuinely be happy. But I feel things, emotions are amplified 10 times more for me as a person. So for me, dating, it can be either a wild roller coaster of emotions, or or it can be something fun. I've learned though that I am the captain of the ship in terms of commandeering how I feel about things, like how, because you can determine, okay, this is the kind of person I want to interact with, engage with. Because when you think about it, our relationships comprise a majority of, like, when we're doing life, right? Life is what? School, work, family, relationships, pets, church, if you're religious. That's life. Literally, that's your ecosystem, right? If you study, I don't know if it's biopsychosocial theory, or if it's called, it's by Yuri Grofenbrenner. It's one of my favorite developmental theorists, developmental psychologist theorists. He has this. It's basically like a circle, and you have different like ecosystems. There's like the exosystem, the endosystem, the mesosystem, and it just kind of radiates outwardly. And in each system, you have. He believes that everything like in there's groups, there's community, and everything kind of just builds upon itself, right? Um, so if you believe in that, like everything kind of, all of that affects you as a person, right? Sociologically speaking, right? In society. But going back to what I was saying, um, like I said, yeah, for me, things are amplified 10 times more because I'm empathic. So me going about dating, it's a little bit trickier for me because I have to remind myself, don't take it so seriously. I mean, yes, if you're someone, if you're looking for a life partner, right? Because society dictates, right? You don't want to do life alone. Some people want multiple partners. I don't know. I'm gonna explore that topic in another video just because I'm just curious, like, does it work? Can it work, right? Can two people be in an open relationship and not have, what are the parameters? What are the, like, are there boundaries? Is there criteria between the main couple and then the ancillary other couples in the immediate space or whatever? um what's acceptable, what's not? Is it just merely sexual? What if someone falls in love with the other person? Like, what if you have your main person, but then you have another person because you're polyamorous, and then you have a better, what happens when you have a better connection with that second person, that the original couple that you're in, that other person, like, what happens? Like, does this couple break up and then this one stays? Like, I don't, to me, I see so many red flags with that for me personally, because I'm just like, it can get, and then what if, let's say it's a man and a woman, the female partner, right? Whatever, this is the one couple, and then let's say the man goes off, right? You have, I know I'm getting into another topic, but it just, maybe I'm meant to. I always say, if I bring up something, that means I was meant to hear it. So maybe you're someone that, maybe you practice polyamory. I don't know. Maybe you do ethical non-monogamy. I don't know. But let's say this is the main couple, and then the dude, let's say you're a dude, and then you go off, and then let's say your partner's like, yeah, you can go off and hook up and do whatever. I'm cool with it, because maybe she's like, yeah, I do it too. So you're both on an equal playing field, right? But then what happens when you boop, 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 the man goes off, and then he meets someone else, and that person, I don't know, lights his fire and is more of a match to that person than the person A that they were originally in a relationship with? What happens? Because what's going to happen to me, what I see it as, person A, female, main female over here, is going to be like, why are you hanging out with person B so much? And then you're going to have an argument and say, well, you told me that we can do open whatever, and that's what I'm doing. But then they're like, yeah, but not to be with them all the time. And then that's to me why I think polyamory is like, but then there's some people who then bring that person B, female, into the relationship sexually, and it becomes like a throuple, I guess. I'm not really down for that, in my opinion. And still though, like, I foresee issues with that. I don't know. When I've come across dating apps, I have seen people like on Bumble where they're very open, and I'm like, you know what? I'm like, at this point, I'm like, you do you, bro. You do whatever floats your boat, whatever tickles your fancy, or strikes your fancy. You do you, right? Who am I to judge? If someone has a really thriving, good relationship with somebody, and they have people that are a support system in their life, who am I to judge? So I've come a long way in that respect, because I literally used to, and I'm dead serious when I say it, I used to be very like, oh, they're like hookup, I was like, no, like, stay away from me, So I've kind of eased the reins, I guess, or my perspective on it. But going back, so I didn't mean to break off into talk about polyamory, it just kind of happened. But so my thing is, it's truly, dating should be fun and not stressful. If dating has become stressful, here are my tips for you. Because I have gotten there where I've gotten so many, like, I match with somebody and then I have to delete them. Or I match with them and it's good for like 2 days. And then I figure out, I get this weird vibe that they're cheating or they're being dishonest with me about something. And then I'm like, great. And then I match with another person and then they don't write back, or they ghost me or reject me. Or then they write back, but it's like breadcrumbs. It's like, you up, or how. So it's a very weird terrain and atmosphere to traverse. So I will say, I want to say this, that dating does come with a certain level of maturity, right? Emotional intelligence, intellectual capacity, right? More so, I think it's important to teach proper coping skills, because you're dealing with people, right? Fortunately for me, I was a server for many years. I studied psychology. I'm a child life specialist, so I worked in a hospital. My primary role was a psychosocial support specialist. So I had to basically, I didn't do formal assessments. I did study OT for a bit, so I kind of got to assess, not so much, oh yeah, behavior. OTs kind of discuss it, like they assess everything globally when I think about it, so I don't know. I come from an assessment, observation of behavior perspective. Um, so because of that, I was able to easily discern and decipher people's intentions, their motives, even if like let's say they might have told me one thing, they're saying one thing, but their body language and behavior indicated another. I was able to decipher and discern, okay, they're bullshitting, they're whatever. So, um, which is a really good, it's basically like situation awareness and emotional discernment, right? I think it's a pretty good skill to have. But I will say though that dating does, what I've learned myself, dating does come. You have to be, I think, mentally and emotionally and spiritually mature and sexually, right? After you've initially had sex and you've had your first time, whatever, you have to, one, as a woman, if you're a woman listening to this, you have to know your power. Female power, we like, when you think about it, the way that we're structured as females, we have a womb, right? We have breasts, we have a womb, we have a vaginal canal that gets penetrated if you're in a heterosexual relationship, right? Or you're heterosexual, which I am. um you have a lot of power, right? Because the female body is very voluptuous. It's, it's a beautiful, like, curves and whatnot. The male body is a little bit different, it's like abdomen, boop, dick, down. It's funny. I'm like, but that's the way it was created. So, but you have to be very, not say hyper aware, but you need to know your power as a person. You also need to be cognizant of what Bonnie's doing. I hear like movement, whatever. You have to be aware of what you can do as a person, meaning like, or like what you're willing to tolerate. And maybe this is where, before you go into dating, right? And I'm not a dating coach, but I kind of, again, this is peer support, right? One to one, if you're listening to this, is peer support. Um, if you are going to go into dating and you want to prevent mental anguish and mishaps, and you want to be, so mental resiliency and mental toughness is something that I think everyone should have. Not to say you become a cold stone, cold hearted bitch or a dick of a guy and you're like, I'm not going to talk to it. No, you still are emotionally expressive. You're emotionally in tune with yourself, but you're not going to let certain behaviors of other people dictate your mood and emotions. So if someone doesn't write you back, you're not going to be like, oh my God, whatever. You're like, okay, thank you for showing me who you are. I'm going to remove myself from the situation and move to a better one where someone does value me. Or if you find out someone is married or has a girlfriend or they're being disloyal or whatever, again, you don't take it personally. You're like, okay, that's not the right person for me. And you kindly say that, you remove yourself. So having a certain level of maturity going about it is, I think, going to help people in the long term. Um, but I do think maybe, one thing I will say, what a therapist has told me is to um, write down, she said deal breakers or boundaries, but maybe write down what your boundaries are. Like, what are the things that you want in a partner? What are the things you want out of a relationship, whether it's a casual one or a long-term one, like a serious one? Um, and let that be kind of like your guidance, like reference sheet, so if you ever feel discouraged and you're like, oh, whatever, just remember, you look back to that and you're like, this is what I'm willing to tolerate. And the reason why I say this is because it's going to prevent mental stress and anguish on you in the future, right? Because you're going to be able to weed out and say, okay, because the thing is, why do we experience the emotional distress and the hyperreactivity and, the anxiety? Why do we get that? How does that come about? Usually because we're interacting with individuals who are less than forthright, who kind of don't know where they want. They're giving us mixed signals. and that, if you really want to take it a step deeper, if you want to get deeper inside psychology, the reason why that is because they themselves, as an individual, on an individual level, forget about dating, they themselves, as the man, as the woman, whatever, they haven't done the inner work to maybe clear out the cobwebs of, you know, relationships from years past, or maybe emotional trauma from their childhood. Maybe they have an avoidant attachment style because their parents didn't really nurture them the way that they, or reared them the way that they should have, right? So, you know, if, again, I came from a psychological background, so it's like I can extrapolate and extract these things, like, okay, I can give credence to the certain people's behavior. For me, that's why I'm like, okay, they're demonstrating XYZ attachment style. They probably have XYZ, probably inner work that they need to do. And then I move on. Now is it to say, oh, but then you're gonna discredit people that maybe should have your time and energy because maybe they did go through stuff and they're healing, which is true. Like, I went through trauma and I've done a hell of a lot of work, a hell of a lot of work to try to move past that which I cannot change. I've done gratitude journaling. I've been to therapy. I have my little prayer box in the thing that I've done, which I later learned is a containment exercise. I've done physical activity and movement. I've done affirmations. I've done cognitive reframing, like restructuring on my own in my brain. I've purposely sought out resources to help me grow and mature. So I did do that. You know, I did the healing, um, or a part of, you know, most of it. Um, but I will say though that dating does come with a certain level of maturity that if you don't have that, you are liable to possibly, yes, getting into an abusive relationship with somebody. Because if you're weak and you are needy, you're codependent, you're going to latch yourself onto the first person that shows you attention. And that's not good, especially if it's very scattered, wishy washy attention. And then you're going to be with someone who, you know, might use you, abuse you. And then, so I will say that I did put, yeah, dating should be fun and not stressful. But also, in lieu of that, I wish I could draw like a little line to say that it, it lends itself, especially with a sexual, if you're not careful, and I've learned this also too through experience, that sex changes, it's such a, if you don't have, I guess, emotional intelligence, if you don't have the intellectual wherewithal or emotional capacity to be able to be able to understand the dynamics of sex and what comes with that, because once you're intimate with somebody, it does change. Now, mind you, yes, there's hormones. We're biologically predisposed to want to procreate. It's just literally, if you go back to caveman times, I remember when I was studying this, like, it was hunter gatherers, and women, the men went to go gather the food, the women were meant to bear the children. That's why women's our hips are wider than men's, because our pelvic floor, our pelvis is meant to be able, evolution dictates we're supposed to procreate and be able to basically have a baby. That's what, you know. So we're biologically, like, genetically predisposed to want to mate, and that's why women, you know, that's why and if you really want to get technical and scientific with it, men are attracted to women with these proportions, these like hourglass or pear-shaped proportions, because they biologically, in their primitive reptilian brain, they go, that would be a good woman to procreate with. Typically, you know, that's the why behind why are men so visually stimulated by curves and breasts and, you know, hips, because evolution dictates that's why, you know, women we're child bearers, right? Men can't bear children, women can. So again, I kind of got off topic, but I will say though that developing mental toughness and emotional resiliency is key if you want to go about it the right way. And don't get discouraged. Like I said, if someone does treat you poorly, you take that as a lesson, you take it as a little nugget of wisdom, and you're like, boop, I'm going to keep that in my little nugget, my nugget jar. I was gonna snort, say my nugget of wisdom jar. And then you know, I need to check my foot to see, because I do someone. Wait, Alexa could play comment stories detected for 1 minute. Okay, I don't know what that is. Um, sorry. Um, Anyways, um, yeah. So what was I saying? Yeah, that's basically that. You want to be able to have, I think, a certain level of maturity to handle. Because let me tell you, there are, and not to scare people or scare you if you're someone that is maybe never done dating before. Because let's say you're like an 18-year-old, 17-year-old person, and you're like, you scroll and for some reason I pop up on your YouTube page, and you're like, oh, let me listen to this lady, because whatever. Because maybe you resonate with me, maybe you haven't done anything in your life like physicality and whatnot. Um, so yeah, um, develop maybe mental toughness, emotional resiliency, and maturity as well. And that's a character building as well. That comes over time. It's not going to happen like you're not going to be like, oh, I totally get everything. It all makes sense now. That's not the way it works. But it should be fun. And if dating is not fun, then you need to either maybe you take a pause and you don't you take a pause on it, and which lends me to my next thing, um, which is what I write. Don't be glued to your phone. Have a life outside of dating. You'll seem desperate and needy if you don't. Meaning, if you, if dating, and I'll be honest, if I, we used to stay in the hospital, so when we used to have a badge we used to wear, and then when you took off your badge, you used to say badge off. That's when you knew it was like it was like no holds like bars, like you can say whatever you want, whatever. And so I'm just gonna say badge off, like real talk. um because I was kind of delayed in terms of like dating and stuff and sex. I could sometimes, I'm like a kid in a candy store. I remember I had a friend in Pennsylvania, and I'm not friends with anymore, and I think she was kind of turned off by the fact that like we would talk about dating, and um she probably thought I was a little boy crazy, because she was, because I was like, oh, I'm doing this and this for me, because maybe she didn't care, but I did, because that was something new and novel to me. And I mean, imagine I'm a 30-year-old woman, right? Or I was 31 or 29, 29, 30, 34, right? I left Miami when I was 29, I think. 2022, 23, 4, 25. Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. And so being this woman, right? Because I am a woman, um, right? That hadn't gone through the things that other people have gone through, I was like, oh my God. I was like, men? I'm like, are you serious? I'm like, this is like, whoa, I feel bad. Let me tell you, I feel bad for some of the men that I might have been with in the beginning of all I started dating and being intimate, because they probably thought I was either crazy, because I sometimes, this is getting really very vulnerable and personal, but I would sometimes be sitting there and I'd be like, I asked them, does an erection hurt? Does it like, how does it like, will it go down? Do you need to like masturbate or come for it to go down? I used to ask tons of questions, because I was curious, right? Because the best way to learn about something is through experience, right? And because I was kind of afraid of sex, I was like, I'm going to do exposure therapy. I'm going to put myself out there, right? So, yeah, that's literally kind of, you know, but just let me get back to what I'm saying. That's kind of so the reason why I was saying that is because I intimacy, all this stuff, it was like a whole new world for me. I know I'm not going to break out into song and sing Aladdin, but it really, really was. And it's still to an extent, it kind of is, because I really only been doing, I was 32, right? So I've been doing this I'm 33 now, I'll be, right? Oh my God, I'm going to be 34 in September. That's crazy. Sometimes in my heart, I don't feel 34. I feel like I'm 21 or like 17 still. It's weird. I feel like I'm young at heart. Like I'm like older, but like I'm inside, I'm like young at heart. Um, but yeah, so I would say, yeah, don't be glued to your phone. Have a life outside of it. You'll seem desperate and needy if you don't, because just trust me, you don't want to, you don't want to be like, you want to have a life. Like, and plus, what, like when you talk to someone, what are you going to tell them? Oh, like, what are your hobbies? Oh, Hinge. What are your hobbies? Oh, Tinder. So hobbies at Tinder's like, yeah. You don't want that. And I'm telling myself that too. But for me, it is kind of like a kid in a candy store. I'm like, this is so weird. I'm like, I've never, I'm not used to male attention. To this day, I'm still like, it's funky to me. It's new. I'm traversing and trying to navigate uncharted waters and unfamiliar terrain. So, but if you are someone who has had experience and you're not like me, don't be like, have a life. Plus, think about how attractive you'll look if you're like, yes, I go to book club every Sunday. I go to run club on Wednesdays. I volunteer at the pet shelter on Fridays. Like, that's so cool. Like, think about it. You'd want to date that person, right? I mean, I would. If I met a guy that's like, yeah, I go to botany school on this, I don't know, like I study plants on the side, or um, I like to go underwater diving and, scavenge the underwater ecosystem to help bring more sustainable, eco-friendly, whatever, I don't know. Like, to me, that would be cool. Like, I don't know. I'm turned on by that stuff. So, ask yourself, would you want to date you, right? Would you want to date you? I would say for me, I think the person who I am now, yes. I mean, granted, my finances are kind of the pits right now. So I always feel bad, and sometimes I feel like I'm like, what do I have to offer besides something physical to someone? Which is true. I really, because I'm like, because think about it, if you're dating with intention, right? Normally, if you're dating with intention, you're dating to marry. When you date someone, there was an actual really good thing on Instagram I saw, before you decide to to tie the knot and tie yourself to someone forever till death do you part, right? Till you're like, and you're, in the plot, in the field, in the cemetery, which I don't want to become morbid and say that, but um, you marry their finances, you marry their family, you marry their childhood and upbringing, you marry their insecurities, their flaws, their tragedies, their idiosyncrasies, you marry their fears, um, you marry whatever community they come from, right? Their background. So it's a lot, right? You think about it. Um, and so in that token, you want to be very mindful of, who you're, linking yourself up with, right? Because you could be linking yourself up with a disaster, and for me, I always say, like, if I want to be wife material for somebody, I want to make sure that I was going to say my full name, but this is YouTube, so I don't want to say that. That I, as a person, am ready for that, right? Like, I know what I bring to the table, I know what I can offer, but I want to be whole in myself first before I can, And right now, I can't really, and I would feel bad, honestly. Like, if I met a really nice guy, and unfortunately, my situation's unique though, because I, it wasn't, I didn't, my financial situation, all that didn't happen because of, um it was not my volition. I was very good with finances and everything, and my kind of situation happened because other people and bullying and stuff like that. It caused a lot of mental strife and anguish for me, that it really weighed me down. um so I'm trying to learn how to overcome that, and every day, I'm very resourceful, I'm very diligent. I'm trying to find other creative ways to make income, you know, without ever going, like, I'll never do anything illegal. Like, that's definitely, I will never turn to drugs or prostitution or anything like that, because that's just not my nature. I won't. My neck. Um, so yeah, that's kind of, that's how I see it. But um, more so, I think that the key takeaway is, yes, don't be glued to your phone. Have a life. You'll seem desperate, needy if you don't. Be like, say, would you want to date you? If you sat down on a date and you're like, oh, I want to date, like, what, like, tell me about your life, whatever. I know I do have a lot to offer in terms of, and I know how I could treat somebody, but for me, for me personally, I would feel bad tacking on whatever debt that I have to somebody else, because I would never want to use somebody. Like, for me, I'm the kind of person, I'm not to say independent, but like, I don't know, self-sufficient. I would say self-sufficient. Like, I don't want to have to ever rely on anybody financially, right? Whether it's a man, a parent, things like that. Like, I'm the kind of person, like, I want to do it myself, right? Because because when that happens, by the way, if you ever do that, it becomes a transactional relationship. It's not no more a, and then if you marry someone because you think that they're going to fix your financial or alleviate your financial woes, you're going to be indebted to that person. I hate to tell you, like, if you have a heart and you have compassion, you're going to feel like you owe something to that person, right? And a relationship should never start off that way. At least I don't think so. So, work on yourself, be the kind of person that you'd want to date, um, and have a life too, right? You know what? No, I will say if it's okay, I think, to be close to your phone if like you're waiting for someone's response. That's normal. Like if you're in the middle of a conversation, then you're hanging off of something, and hopefully you don't get left on read. I didn't realize it is a pretty horrible thing with someone like you're writing someone and then they just go ghost. So it is sad. It sucks. But that says nothing about you as a person. They actually, if a guy ever does it to you, by the way, which I check out the video on ghosting, zombieing, benching, and whatever else I called it, I forgot. Zombieing, ghosting, benching, breadcrumbing. If anyone ever does that to you, please do not take it to heart. It's probably because they lack emotional maturity. Because a normal person knows to write someone back. If they don't write you back, I guarantee you they're probably un poco loco, and a little bit mentally unstable. Because a normal person would be like, hey, right? Communication, right? Etiquette, being polite, following up, right? When you go to work, you get an email from your boss. Hello, Susan, I will meet your deadline soon, right? Same thing. Someone writes you, you write them back in a timely manner. If they don't do that, it's nothing against you. I've learned this now, nothing against you. They're the one that's emotionally mature and, irresponsible. Because if they were responsible and mature as an adult, they would write you back in a timely manner. So, and if anyone does that, please, 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 if I can tell if you're a woman and you're listening to this, or a man, please do not accept the bare minimum. Do not allow that person back into your life. Do not give them second chances. Because if someone, Maya Angelou says, when someone shows you who they are, believe them. Don't go, oh, but we have great sexual chemistry. Oh, but, he was so nice to me in the beginning. No, boo boo. No, they don't care. He or she doesn't give a shit. Because if they gave a shit, they would reach out to you or write back to you. Nothing would, let me tell you, when someone likes you, nothing stops them. And if they're being a player and they're doing it to trick you, then once they show you who they are, because let me tell you, in the faithful perspective, God, the universe, whatever, Allah, Yahweh, whatever, Yeshua, whatever you consider that to be, that will show you. I promise you 100,010%. The universe will show you, because karma always catches up with people, whether we like it or not. I'm not exempt from karma. Nobody. I don't care how high profile you are. I don't care whatever. It will always catch up to you. So please do not, if someone treats you like shit, do not accept it. I don't care if you're alone. I don't care if you're in a desert. I don't care if you have $0 to your name and they're the only person in your orbit and vicinity. Please have more self-respect. Sorry to get whatever. I get passionate about it because I care. And I want people to be emotionally intelligent and competent, because that's what's going to help foster and cultivate better relationships, whether it's casual, physical, long-term, whatever. Which I kind of touched on this. Be emotionally ready and mature for sexual intimacy. And I would say dating in general, which I kind of already touched on that. Because if you aren't, like, if you don't know your boundaries, if you don't know your deal breakers, if you don't really know what you want, you're going to end up either wasting someone else's time or they're going to waste your time. Because the thing is, you're going to entertain people who are con artists, players, haters, misogynists. Because there are men out there who literally, they don't like women, but they want to have sex with them. It's crazy. It's crazy. I know. There's men who literally are sexist, or they hate women. They hate, the dynamics of that. And they just want to have a woman in their life so they can have a steady, consistent, instead of having a blow up doll, they have a woman, right? A live human being, which in that case, it's like, oof, I don't know. So I think that one, and it is important, because if you're, like I said, if you're not emotionally ready and mature, you're going to end up entertaining and attracting the wrong person, right? Or the wrong people. So, and it is to say, I mean, let me take it back and say, because it's not going to be if you attract somebody who's, let's say, a player, or they're married, or girl, or whatever, or they only give you the bare minimum, it's, don't feel like, oh, it's my fault that no, sometimes you just, that's the way it happens, you know. It's the way it goes, you know. And also too, be mindful. They might have been a lesson to you, but you might have been a blessing to them. Because sometimes we come into people's lives as a blessing, and then they fumble it and they fuck it up. So maybe for you, you're like, oh man, that, I wish that would have worked out. Guess what? You might be someone else's karma. You may have been a blessing, a walking blessing that was placed in that person's life. And because they missed the mark, they dropped the ball or fumbled it because they were having fun, entertaining a third party situation, and they lost out on you because they lied to you or cheated on whatever. Take it as they were a lesson for you. They were a lesson for you, but you might have been a blessing for them, you know. Um, so yeah. The next one I have, don't feel bad about stating your boundaries, or I don't know what it, or cutting someone off who is not good for you. They need to get their shit together. Um, you know, and to expand or elaborate on this, time is really precious, and who we surround ourselves with is a direct. I did another video on this, and I learned this at a very young age, but who you surround yourself with is a direct reflection of who you are as a person, what your core values are, what your beliefs are, all of that. So if you are surrounding yourself, let's say you, I don't know, you surround yourself with people who get drunk all the time. That means that you're someone who has loose morals when it comes to that, and you're okay with exorbitant of consuming exorbitant amounts of alcohol to the point where you're inebriated and you're drunk. God forbid you don't get in the back of a car, or not the back of a car, in the front of a car in a driver's seat, because you could be liable to getting a DUI. So just want to say that. Um, uh, yeah, but I'm trying to say, don't feel bad about stating your boundaries or cutting. So yeah. So let's do the first, stating your boundaries. If a person doesn't like when you put a barrier or you state some sort of boundary, like I'm not going to see you unless there's more communication between you and I literally did this to someone recently. I told them, and I was wondering if he was catfishing me anyways, because I felt kind of like he wasn't being completely like wholeheartedly honest with me. But I told him, you know, and he seemed nice. I told him, you know, you're really cute, you have this boyish charm to you, that whatever. But dude didn't communicate. Like it was like, you know, if you have to tell someone how to treat you, like please talk to me. They obviously like, they don't, yeah, they don't like, they don't care, or you know, they're not the right person for you. And you never want to have to continue to over explain yourself or tell someone how to treat you, especially if they're an adult. But the moment you state your boundaries, if you get pushback from somebody, guess what? That person's not meant for you, because they will be meant for you if they respect your boundaries, right? If they respect you as a person, like you as a person, if they respect, like if you say, I can't meet you past 8 p.m., or I can only meet you, like let's say you work, right? You have a busy life. Let's say you're a nurse. I don't know, and you're tired and you work long shifts, and maybe your parameters are you don't want to go out with someone past 10 o'clock. You know, you get home, unless it's a weekend. If it's a weekday, let's say, and you're a nurse and you get home, and because they finish usually at 7 p.m. or 8 p.m., right? Because they have 12-hour shifts, 10 or 12-hour shifts. And you're like, but you know, you don't want to meet people past 11 o'clock. And that guy, if you're talking to him and he's like, hey, are you done with work? Let's, can we meet at 10 o'clock at a bar, so and so, whatever, and you say kindly, you know, unless it's on a weekend, and maybe let's say he works the weekends, right? Or he's busy on the weekend, and he says, oh no, but I can only meet you at 10 o'clock. Well, guess what? Then that's not the right person for you, because if he's willing to get to know you, he'll accommodate you, right? There'll be compromise. He'll make it work. So don't feel bad. And there's other things with boundaries too. Like there could be, like so for me, when it comes to marijuana specifically, I'm someone, I don't like the smell of it. I'm very sensitive to chemicals and smells. So for me, anyone that's like, I can't have anyone smoke around me. I just don't like it. It smells like burnt rope and skunk, or like, you know, not skunk, but just like burnt grass. And I'm not really keen on that. I prefer that smell over cigarettes, I'll be honest. If we had to say between the two, I'd rather be in a room full of the marijuana smoke versus the cigarette smoke. But for me, I don't really prefer that. Like, if someone, I will say, if someone does gummies, if they do CBD, that's a little bit different. But, you know, I've made the personal decision. If someone, like if they're an avid smoker and they get high all the time, that's not someone I want to be around. But if they do it ever so often, it's like, because it is a class one scheduled, like a psychoactive drug. So even though I think it's probably being legalized in most places. Um, so what else do I want to say? And then, yeah, and then cutting people off. Do not feel bad for cutting. I used to, so when I figured out there was someone that I didn't want to talk to, reciprocate feelings with, or exchange communication with, I would, and I knew that I wasn't interested in them anymore, I would block a person. Like, legitimately, I would put their number on my block list because I didn't want to hear from them. Because for my mental health, because I'm a nice person, I'll give people chances. And if they come back around, I'm like, oh, maybe I'll entertain them again or whatever, you know. But if someone mistreats you, they gaslight you, they trick you, they abuse you, they manipulate you, they coerce you or try to groom you into doing something you don't want to do, and you cut them off, do not feel bad about that. Because everyone is special. This is my theory, we all carry a spark of divinity within us, and this uniqueness, this unique energy signature, and destiny that we have within ourselves. And if you are not careful, some people will come into your space and they will try to siphon your energy. I'm not kidding about this. There are literally spiritual, like, energy vampires and succubuses, that, like, women that are Jezebels, who are copycats and want to be just like you, right? And then they'll talk shit about you, or they'll, make fun of you, or start smear campaigns. On the same side, you have men who don't know what they want, so they'll come in and they'll sleep with you just so they can steal your essence. You need to I've learned this now at the ripe age of 33. You need to covet your energy, because that shit matters. Because you matter. And people that don't have their shit together are going to come in, and they're going to try to siphon that part of you, right? Because they see you vibing high. They're like, oh, that girl's doing well. I have to figure out what the secret sauce is, right? And it's the truth. And maybe they don't know that while they're doing it, but that's the truth. They're going to come in and they're going to be like, I want to be near her just so I can have her. And then if you want to get a step further, if you're like me, if you're an empath and you like to do Reiki healing and you offer healing, loving energy, there are people that are going to be like, bro, give me all that, bottle it up, and then just, and they'll exploit you and stuff like that. So you have to be really, really careful. And on the flip side of it, then you have some men who will act like they had your best intentions at heart, and really, and they'll vibe with you, and they'll make you seem like the sexual chemistry is there, the attraction's there, and really they're just playing a part or playing a role, and they're, leading you on or manipulating you, and you won't find out until, maybe, God forbid, who knows, like 3 months in, after you've already, and you don't want to do that. That's not right. So, learning to covet your own energy and cutting people off. And in spirituality, we do believe that there is something that is, I don't know, what time is it? 9:30. There is an etheric cord that kind of attaches to you, to the other person. You can't really see it, but if you are into spirituality, or there's the idea of string theory, everyone that you come into contact with, you end up developing like an etheric cord or an attachment to them. So if you're not careful, you could be liable to attaching yourself to someone who's more karmic in energy versus more like a soulmate, soul growth, soul tribe energy, right? So yeah, anything else I wish to say? Oh, last thing, and I think this is a good thing to end on. Your journey and experience is unique to you. Don't compare yourself to someone else's timeline. Meaning, you're going to see a lot of people, and I see this a lot on Instagram, and people do it on YouTube and they vlog about it. You're going to see people talking about their engagement rings. You're going to see people talking about their wedding or their destination wedding. And they film it and they put it up online, which, they want to share those experiences with people. I'm not going to judge them. I used to be like, why would someone sit there and put their whole personal life on the internet? They're seeking attention. Like, for me, like, I'm not doing it to seek attention. I'm doing it because I wanted to genuinely get my story out there. Because I go, what if, because like I said, Morgan Harper Nichols, who's like a poet that I love, she says your tail your tail of the mountain you climbed could be someone else's survival guide. So if I can help someone else thrive and survive through a really traumatic situation, and you might say, oh, but what do you get out of that? Nothing really. I don't do things, I never do things for extrinsic gain. I do things for it. And I'm sorry, I have a band-aid. I have really dry skin sometimes, so my skin cracks. So these band-aids help moisturize my skin. So anyways, I don't do things for extrinsic gain. I do things for intrinsic gain, meaning I want it to feel good for my soul. So I know you might be like, oh, she's just saying that to seem altruistic. No, but literally, I wish every fiber of my being, I can't change myself in that respect. I do genuinely, I feel better when I can help other people. And I'll be honest, when I've engaged in like, sometimes like when I've taken sexy, I feel weird sometimes like when I'm dating and I'm taking sexy pics and stuff with people, I'm like, oh my God, I feel so vain or narcissistic because I'm like sitting there doing selfies and doing cute faces. And I'm like, I just feel vain doing it sometimes. And I'm like, actually, it's fun. Don't worry about it. Like, because not say my true self, but like what really drives me is when I do get to, help other people grow and thrive and stuff and see them prosper, even if I don't get anything out of it, because then I know that I made a positive impact in someone's life, and then I made basically a positive impact overall, you know. And they always say, they say you can't change the world, but if you change yourself, and since you're in the world, that means you did change the world to an extent. It's kind of like that. But really, what I meant by, your journey experience is subjective to you and unique to you, and don't compare yourself to someone else's timeline. It's true, because my journey is not going to be the same as my neighbors. My journey is not going to be the same as the cashier at the beverage mart, right? Or the girl, or any girl or women who live in this neighborhood, right? Or anyone else I encounter in the future, or even people on YouTube. My journey is literally like, it's unique to me, right? And I used to be the one. I used to go, oh God, am I gonna be like a virgin till like I'm 40? Like what do I do if I'm, if I haven't had, like, what do I do? Whatever timeline you are at in your life, and wherever the age is that you first have intercourse, whatever that, God forbid, hopefully you're not 14, because I don't really condone underage, like that's yeah. I would say it's you have to be grateful for where you are in your life, because it's unique to you, and you're gonna carry and acquire and garner experience as you go along that. And if you ever go and you see someone else and you go, oh, but she has a baby. Oh yeah, but you don't know what their relationship is like. You can say, someone could put online, oh, we just had our third baby. Yay! I've seen so many videos of the couples, they're like, oh, look, I'm pregnant, look at my belly. And you don't know what their home life is like. That's what they're showing you. That's what they want you to see, right? They want you to see the good parts. They want you to say, oh my God, they're having a third baby. Their marriage must be on fire. They must be a stellar couple. You don't know that. What if that woman got pregnant to trap her husband into a marriage, or to keep the marriage going? What if that baby was basically like a saving grace for their marriage? What if you see someone, you're like, oh, why are they still together? Maybe they're together because of convenience. Maybe they're together because of the kids. Maybe they're in a civil marriage, but they date other people. You don't know. So that's why I take it with a grain of salt. If someone, I go, oh, why am I not? No. If I'm 36 and I haven't met anyone yet, that says nothing about me. I am very particular and picky about who I interact with and stuff. But it might not be 40. I mean, look, a perfect example. Look at George Clooney. That dude, he waited a long ass time, and he landed I'm gonna say a gold mine, but Amal Clooney seems very well spoken, very sophisticated, very demure, but also she seems very philanthropic and altruistic. So, he waited. My point is, I don't know if he had any other marriages before, but everything happens in its right time. And if you've been married before, if you've had a first marriage and it didn't work out, don't go, oh, am I going to get, like, when is it, do you feel less than because you got divorced? No. You had a thing, you had that experience with that partner, and then you move on to the next one. And then God, the universe, whatever, will present to you that right person at the right time. Also, we're also presented with lessons too until we finally get it. Hopefully, I would hope, because there is in yoga, we call it the wheel of samskara, which is like karma and stuff like that. So you basically, you accrue your own karma. So I'm hoping, I hopefully I get off the hamster wheel soon of the samskara. I don't know. But anyways, yeah. So it's a lot. It doesn't seem like, it doesn't seem like a lot. I wrote it down here in bullet points, but saying it's an hour and 20 minutes worth of content and advice. Again, I just want to disclose I am not a therapist. I am not a psychologist. I'm not a psychiatrist. I am not a social worker. I'm not a peer support recovery specialist. I am just a person. I do have a background. I have a bachelor's in sociology. I have a master's in developmental psychology, and I am a certified child specialist. So I do have experience. I completed a practicum. I completed an internship. I also did 2 medical observerships in critical care medicine and outpatients. What was the other one? Dermatology. So I do have, I think, a good amount of experience doing, observerships and assessing things and like that. I did kind of do, not really, I wasn't hired for it, but like medical assisting with an OT clinic who specialized in hand therapy. It was amazing. That guy was so good. Shout out to South Miami Sports Medicine. And they were the nicest people too. I'm not going to say their names out of respect for them, but they were such a lovely couple. And yeah, but I do kind of have a background like in that respect. So it's not like I'm just like an authority, like, oh, whatever, but I have um, worked with different patients in different capacities and different settings and stuff like that. And one of my goals is I would love to become a trauma informed therapist. OT, I don't know if I would go back to, because you'd have to go to OT school. And I did get into OT school, I will say that. I did get into occupational therapy school. But I turned it down or I turned down the offer because I was going through some not so great things. Not stuff that brought on my own volition, but other people doing stuff to me. So, yeah. Again, I hope that helps somebody. And please don't take my word as fact, because, you can, if you want to reference me in your therapy session, totally fine. You're like, there's this girl online and she lives in Vermont and she records her dog a lot, and she cooks and it's fun to watch, but please don't take, I'm just trying to do it because I wish that I had someone that I could have watched. And I did watch Matthew Hussey, his dating advice, Ralph Smart, Teal Swan, Matt Kahn, Joel Osteen, um, Victor Otto, and some other like oracle card readers and stuff that I've listened to that have kind of shaped my thinking and shaped my worldview, right? I guess you can say, and spiritual beliefs. But we all have our own unique path, and please do not judge yourself if yours is a little bit different than others. Because I used to, like, even now, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm 33, and like I'm in such a funky spot that I never thought I'd be in. But at the end of the day, there are those quotes that might seem cliche, like, when you walk into Home Goods and they're like, live, laugh, love, family, life, and you're like, God help me. And mind you, I'm all about positive psychology, but there's a moment when I see live, laugh, love, I'm like, bro, if I see another live, laugh, love, and there's like a little sailing ship with like, or a butterfly, I'm like, bro, I can't. So, but I will say though that, don't feel bad if your life didn't turn out the way they expected to. And there is truth, really, there is truth when it says you're exactly where you are meant to be, wherever that is. And things, and also too, if things are not going well for you right now, and you're as a person, you're like, oh, woe is me, life is horrible. I highly encourage you, change your thinking. You change your mindset, you change your life. And that sounds cliche too, but you are the captain of your ship. No matter what's going on outside of you externally, you can choose every single day how you want to show up to the world. Like I finally got into doing my TEFL certification. Is anything going to come out of it? I don't know. But for me, as a personal goal, I want to be able to say I completed a course while healing through trauma, while navigating dating, while being in, I call it bikini bottom because it is bikini bottom with finances, and then going from there. And then let's say you hit rock bottom, let me tell you, the only way to go is up. And if you're someone and you're like, oh, but I'm homeless, let me tell you, even those people that are homeless. I was watching a video today about a guy he became homeless because he was an alcoholic, and he lost his girlfriend, he lost his home, he lost his job because he was constantly drinking. If you have self-awareness, you'd say, hey, I don't want to drink anymore. This is disrupting my life and activities of daily living. For an OT, we call that ADLs. Um, and you'd say, hey, I want better. And you check yourself into a rehab. Let me tell you, there are, especially like in Vermont, they have a lot of social support agencies here. Um, and in terms of Vermont, I don't know if this is a place I'd want to stay for the rest of my life. Probably not. I'll be honest. I feel like I'd thrive better in an environment that, like, I don't know. I have like things and yoga and um I don't know, because I want things to do. Like, I wish there was a park I could walk to, or But this is I chose to move here, so I'm gonna take accountability, and you know, hopefully I'll be able. It'd be really cool. I will say, like, if I was able to, despite all the shit that I've gone through, I was able to rise up from the ashes and overcome things. Because let me tell you, the odds, let's say, were stacked against me, but I felt really outnumbered in terms of respect to some things. And I said, you know what? I said no. I chose, and I said this is not going to be how my life goes. Because I can't control. You can't ever, whether it's dating, job, work. You can't control what other people are going to do. Maybe you can influence them. That's why we have influencers, and some people are very charismatic and persuasive. But I can't control what the guy I'm talking to or dating wants to do. I can't control what a boss wants to do. I can't control what my neighbor wants to do. So instead of focusing maybe so much on trying to control the situation, just try to maybe either overcome the situation or change it for your betterment. Get up, be proactive. You apply to jobs, you don't get hired, create a job. Turn your passion, that hobby that you whatever, into a passion. There's a girl who literally, I'm subscribed to her. She literally testified in front of Congress about the tariffs or something, and she created a shoe. It's amazing, by the way. I wish I don't have the money to spend on it, but she has these shoes that are portable that change from a high heel to a flat. I mean, that's ingenious. And she started this business in college, and like, you look at her, you could tell she's a powerful woman. I can't imagine her being someone that takes nonsense and whatever from anybody. And and her shoes are really cute. It's called Passion Footwear. I have yet to buy one of her shoes, but it seems really cool. But my point is that you can do it if you really care and you're proactive. You can do it. And dating is not going to be easy. I'm going to be honest. It's not. Life is not easy. It's not. Life is really hard. It's shitty. It's really shitty sometimes. But there are also some really, really, really wonderful moments. Like when I eat chocolate chip cookies or chocolate chip pancakes with bacon. Or when I get to wear really cute, like frilly lingerie. Or I get to meet a guy who, I have really good sexual chemistry with. Right? There's little things like that. Or like when you get a coupon for TJ Maxx. I have like 3 or 4 coupons for TJ Maxx for like $10. I also think I have a coupon for Sephora too, which reminds me I need to buy eyeliner because the eyeliner I'm wearing now is basically like fading off my face. You can't tell, but it is. And I've been using the same, I think it's been like a year. I've used the same eyeliner. You're supposed to use it after like, no, like a year and a half because I was in Virginia. You're supposed to change your eyeliner every like, I don't know, 3 to 6 months. Anyways, I'm trying to wear it out to prolong it. Um, but yeah, you know, more dating tips. So these are kind of how to cope through dating, like mental health advice for dating, like dating health, healthily. I don't know, healthy dating, mindful tips for. I don't know. I'll figure it out. More so along how to cope through dating and mental health. So it's something fun and not stressful. And also, please, like I said, please don't accept the bare minimum ever, because everyone I think is worth it. In my opinion, we're all worth it. Even if you feel like you're like a little ladybug or like a little ant, and you feel insignificant against the grand scheme of like microcosm of life, or macrocosm, I guess. And you'd be surprised at what I think you can come about if you just put your nose to the grind and, what is it, the pedal to the metal. If you're a driver, if you're a NASCAR driver. I've never really been into NASCAR driving, but anyways, it was just the example that came up. So yeah, just to go over again, normalize transparency and communication. Dating should be fun, not stressful. Your journey experience is unique to you. Don't compare yourself to someone else's timeline. If someone mistreats you, plays you, uses you, abuses you, or tricks you, that's not your fault. You're most likely a good, kind, loving soul who didn't know better. But try not to. If you notice that you're like repeating a pattern and you're developing these kind of individuals, be mindful. And also be mindful too, some people will use you for sex. I'm just going to be honest. Like, they may trick you into thinking they like you, or really they may not have any intention of ever meeting you, and they just like, they like they're a player, so they like the thrill of the chase, or they just like the attention getting from a woman because it's like, oh, I got another woman, you know. Just be mindful of that, because that does happen. Don't be glued to your phone. Have a life. You'll seem desperate and needy if you don't. Be emotionally ready and mature for sexual intimacy, because if you're not, you can be liable to developing codependency on somebody or a trauma bond, and you don't want to do that. To have a healthy sex life, I think you have to know what you, and also dating too, you have to know what you want, you have to have your boundaries, you have to have your deal breakers, and then go from there. Don't feel bad about stating your boundaries or cutting someone off who is not good for you. They need to get their shit together, right? Because think, you don't want to do that to another person, right? You don't want to treat someone else poorly, and so, you know, stating your boundaries, you're not. And also, if someone paints you out to be the villain or the devil in their story, it's probably because you said something or did something that they didn't like or agreed with, or they were overly jealous and possessive and controlling. So, you know, again, don't feel bad about cutting them off, which is why I do condone, like, you know, I do, either maybe you talk through an app, but you talk maybe through a WhatsApp, or you talk through another messaging thing, which, be mindful, people do that when they're cheating. I will say that some people will use, because they don't want to do the text, because if their partner goes through their phone, they would see the other phone number and they'd be like, oh, who's this person? So be mindful of that. And it's 9:40. I'm going to get going. I do need to eat dinner, and I do need to do more of my TEFL stuff. And yeah, that's it. But I hope you have a wonderful Friday, and there's always light on the other side. And if someone ever resurrects themselves back into your life, ask yourself, do they, as a person, do they bring you joy? Do they make, if someone comes back into your life, like, because some people, I will say, if you cut things off with someone and they're considered an ex, but people do grow. They have growth transformations. They have spiritual awakenings. So, you know, maybe, you know, it's up to you. You have to feel it out. If they do more harm than good, it's a no. If they uplift you and bring you joy, then it's a yes. So, namaste, and have a wonderful, wonderful, happy Friday. And stay safe as well, because people are cuckoo. They're un poco loco. So, be careful. And you don't want to, you know, because you can get yourself involved with somebody who can be, you know, a wolf in sheep's clothing or a devil in disguise. And if you're someone like me, who you give everyone a chance and you see the good in everybody, those are the worst kind, because they will, like, literally, they'll be like, oh, she's naive, or she's good and kind. I'm going to snatch her and whatever. I don't know after that. You know, I'm not a criminal, so I don't hold ill intent for anybody. But that's might be what they do to you, for you. So, hope that helps you, and thank you for watching. If you made it your way through this whole thing, God bless you. You have a great attention span, because I probably would have paused a video by now and done something else. But if my words do help you, if they enlighten you in some way or give you clarity, that would be awesome. I always say, if I ever pass away and I leave this earth and I touched one person's soul in a positive way, even if I don't know you, I'm happy. And no, I'm not a saint. It's just that's the way I was built. Like, I can't, you know, I've always been that way since I was a little girl. So, you know, and again, if you watch me and to the flip side of it, you're like, and if you want to talk about saintliness and godliness, I'm not saying I'm unholy, but, you know, I do talk about sex and stuff and sexuality, but I try to do it in a way that's more explorative, informational, educational, and explorational, right? Because I think that sex was something that I kind of shied away from. I was nervous about it. And then finally, I can say at 33, I wholeheartedly embrace that sensual, sexual, divine, feminine aspect of myself. And I'm not going to feel bad about it. I used to, and I go, I'm not going to feel ashamed about it. And if you have a parent, if you have a friend or anyone that tells you otherwise, and they don't support you and, you know, your growth and your journey, then guess what? Then maybe that's time where you say, hey, I don't want to be around you. And until you can treat me with respect, I'm going to keep my distance from you, because we all deserve to be surrounded by people who uplift us and encourage us and bring us joy and happiness. And if they can't do that, then they're maybe not someone that you should be around. So I know that's hard to hear, but you know, your mental health matters, your soul matters, and you matter just overall. So God bless.